Chosen one. Before we begin, I need you to pause for a moment. Take a slow breath. Let your shoulders relax. Let your spirit settle. Because what you're about to hear is not motivational. It's not coincidence. And it's not something everyone will understand. This message finds only those who are meant to hear it. You've asked yourself questions in the quiet moments. Why has my life felt so complex? Why did the path never look straight like everyone else's? Why did blessings come disguised as battles? You thought your journey was confusing, but heaven calls it precise. What if every delay, every detour, every heartbreak wasn't an interruption, but a revelation? Chosen one, your journey isn't messy. It's mapped. And today, God is revealing the hidden blueprint behind your life. Chosen one, Scripture says that before you were formed in the womb, God knew you. But what most people don't realize is that knowing includes designing. Your life was not drafted in real time. It was authored in eternity. Before your first breath, heaven had already traced your steps. Before your first hair, God had already planned the comfort. Before your first battle, victory had already been accounted for. This is why your life could never follow a normal pattern. Normal paths are for ordinary assignments. But your assignment required custom architecture. That's why you were born into certain conditions. That's why you met specific people. That's why doors closed that should have opened. You weren't being blocked. You were being aligned. The blueprint required you to learn strength early, discernment quickly, faith deeply, and even when it felt unfair, it was intentional. Have you noticed how your journey never looked like anyone else's? Others seemed to advance smoothly, while you advanced painfully. Others received applause. You received pressure. Others were supported. You were tested. This wasn't because you were overlooked. It's because comparison would have ruined you. God couldn't afford for you to copy anyone else's blueprint. Because what's in you has never existed before in the same way. Your soul carries a unique frequency. Your calling required uncommon preparation. Your destiny demanded insulation from imitation. That's why God isolated you at times. Not to punish you, but to protect the pattern. If you had arrived early, you would have arrived incomplete. If you had been celebrated too soon, you would have lost humility. If you had been supported prematurely, you wouldn't have learned how to hear God alone. Chosen one, delay was not denial. It was detail work. Let's talk about the struggles you rarely speak about. The nights you questioned your worth. The seasons where prayers felt unanswered. The moments you wondered if you misunderstood God entirely. Those weren't breakdowns. They were installations. Each struggle installed something you'd need later. Discernment, compassion, authority, spiritual endurance. You didn't just survive pain. You absorbed wisdom. That's why people come to you without knowing why. That's why strangers trust you. That's why your presence brings calm, clarity, or conviction. Pain refined your voice. Silence sharpened your hearing. Loneliness strengthened your intimacy with God. The blueprint required depth, not speed. Chosen one, this part may sting, but it will heal you. Some of the deepest wounds in your life came from people you loved. People you trusted. People you would have defended. That betrayal wasn't random. God allowed it because loyalty to people would have conflicted with loyalty to purpose. Certain relationships couldn't go with you, not because they were evil, but because they were misaligned. If they had stayed, you would have shrunk your calling to keep peace. You would have edited your obedience to maintain comfort. So God removed them quietly, or painfully, but always precisely. Not everyone is meant to understand your blueprint. Some are only meant to exit it. Let's talk about the silence. Those seasons where heaven felt quiet, where signs stopped appearing, where confirmations disappeared. You weren't abandoned. You were being trained to walk by identity, not reassurance. God speaks loudly to children, but He whispers to heirs. Silence develops confidence. It forces you to trust what God said, not what you feel. During those quiet seasons, God was watching how you moved without applause. how you loved without validation, how you obeyed without evidence, and you pass more tests than you realize. Chosen one, this is the part where heaven gives you confirmation, not hype, not emotion, but evidence. Because when God designs a blueprint, there are unmistakable markers that appear along the way. Quiet signs, internal shifts, unexplainable changes that logic can't fully define. If you recognize yourself here, it's because your journey is not off course, it's right on time. Places that once felt safe now feel restrictive. Conversations that once energized you now drain you. Environments you once tolerated now disturb your spirit. This isn't arrogance. This isn't ingratitude. This is growth. Blueprints require expansion. And when you expand internally, external spaces must change. God is not removing things to hurt you. He's removing them because they can no longer contain who you're becoming. Pay attention to this carefully. You may feel unsettled, but not confused. Uncomfortable, but not hopeless. In transition, but not abandoned. This kind of restlessness is holy. It's the sensation of outgrowing an old season while standing at the edge of a new one. Your spirit knows something is shifting, even if your mind can't explain it yet. That's the blueprint adjusting in real time. Small talk feels unbearable now. Surface-level spirituality no longer satisfies you. Entertainment without meaning leaves you empty. You crave truth, stillness, substance. This happens when God activates discernment. You're no longer distracted by what looks good. You're attracted to what feels true. The blueprint demands clarity, and clarity requires silence. You sense things before they happen. You feel when something is off, even without evidence. You know when to pull back, when to wait, and when to move. This isn't imagination. It's spiritual perception coming online. God is teaching you to recognize direction before explanation. Because where you're going, not every step will come with instructions, but every step will come with confirmation in your spirit. You can't fake peace. You can't stay where you're unhappy just to be accepted. You can't say yes when your spirit says no. Something inside you refuses compromise now. That's not rebellion. That's alignment. The blueprint requires integrity, not performance. God is removing your tolerance for what no longer matches your true self. Old wounds are surfacing. Memories are resurfacing. Patterns are being exposed. This isn't regression. This is purification. What God reveals, He intends to heal. Blueprints can't be activated while hidden damage remains unaddressed. So God lovingly brings things to the surface, not to shame you, but to free you. You're more selective now. More private. More guarded. Not because you're closed, but because you're valuable. You understand now that access is sacred. Everyone doesn't need to hear your plans. Everyone doesn't deserve your vulnerability. Everyone can't walk with you into the next chapter. This wisdom didn't come from fear. It came from experience. What you once prayed for no longer excites you. What once motivated you now feels incomplete. Your desires are being upgraded to match your assignment. God is aligning what you want with what you're called to steward. That's why some dreams faded. They were good, but not yours. You don't feel the need to prove yourself anymore. You don't need constant validation. You don't rush like you used to. There's a quiet confidence forming. Not pride. Not ego. Identity. And identity is the foundation of the blueprint. Even when God isn't speaking loudly, you feel His nearness. Even when answers delay, you feel peace. Even when things are uncertain, you feel held. That's because trust has replaced fear. And when trust is present, the blueprint can unfold without resistance. Chosen one, these signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Your life is not falling apart. It is falling into alignment. What feels uncomfortable now is making room for what's destined. The blueprint is active. The timing is intentional. And you, yes you, are exactly where you need to be. Stay still when God says wait. Move boldly when He says go. And trust what your spirit already recognizes. Because your journey is unfolding exactly as designed. Chosen one, this truth may be sobering, but it will also set you free. You were not targeted early because you were weak. You were targeted early because you were marked. The enemy does not waste resources on empty vessels. He studies potential. He watches patterns. He recognizes heaven's fingerprints long before humans do. And from the very beginning, your life carried signs that you would matter. Before you understood purpose, pressure showed up. Before you knew identity, confusion tried to claim you. Before you learned faith, fear tried to dominate you. That wasn't accidental. The enemy saw what you would become, not just who you were. He sensed the authority you'd one day walk in. He detected the impact your obedience would carry. He knew your voice would awaken others. So the strategy was simple. Attack the foundation before the structure is built. Many chosen ones experienced pain too soon. Rejection before confidence. Responsibility before readiness. Loss before language to explain it. The goal was never just to hurt you. The goal was to confuse you. If the enemy could make you question your worth early, you would shrink later. If he could introduce shame before self-awareness, you would self-sabotage destiny. If he could associate love with pain, you would fear intimacy with God. But here's what he didn't account for. You survived. You often felt different, misunderstood, out of place even in rooms where you belong. That isolation was meant to make you feel defective. But God used it to make you distinct. While others were influenced, you were preserved. While others were distracted, you were developed internally. While others were affirmed by crowds, you were affirmed by heaven. Isolation taught you how to hear God without noise, how to stand without applause, how to rely on truth instead of approval. What was meant to break you trained you. You felt heaviness you couldn't name. You battled thoughts that didn't sound like your own. You questioned life deeply while others lived carelessly. That's because spiritual people face spiritual battles early. The enemy knew if you ever learned what was happening to you, you would stop internalizing the fight. So he tried to keep you unaware, overwhelmed, and exhausted. But awareness has arrived now. And awareness changes everything. Here's a powerful truth. The enemy works urgently when destiny is large. He doesn't know everything, but he knows patterns. He knows when someone carries restoration. He knows when someone carries truth. He knows when someone carries light that exposes darkness. So he rushed. He applied pressure early. He tried to rush maturity through pain instead of wisdom. He tried to make you quit before you even knew the rules. But you're still standing. Which means the assignment survived the assault. Chosen one, if what you faced was meant to end you, it would have. But instead, you became discerning. You became compassionate. You became resilient. You became spiritually sensitive. The enemy tried to use pain to harden you. God used it to deepen you. The enemy tried to silence you. God prepared your voice. The enemy tried to make you doubt God. God taught you how to find Him in the dark. Healing isn't just about peace. It's about permission. Unhealed wounds leak into leadership. Unresolved pain distorts authority. Unaddressed fear delays obedience. That's why God is healing you now, not later. The enemy attacked early to delay you. God heals now to release you. The enemy targeted you early. But he failed to stop you. Which means everything he tried to prevent is still scheduled. Your voice will speak. Your presence will shift atmospheres. Your obedience will open doors for others. The attack was real. But so is the calling. And the fact that you're still here, still seeking God, still growing, still awakening, is heaven's confirmation. You were worth the resistance. And now, the season of recovery is ending. The season of clarity is beginning. And the blueprint, untouched, undefeated, intact, is ready to unfold. Chosen one, this is not a rebuilding season. This is a revealing season. God is now showing you why things happened, why people left, why you had to wait, why you couldn't settle. The fog is lifting. Your intuition is sharpening. Your confidence is returning, not arrogantly, but securely. You're no longer asking, "Who am I?" You're declaring, "I know who I am." This is the season where alignment replaces struggle, where favor replaces force, where clarity replaces confusion. Chosen one, understanding the blueprint is powerful, but walking in it requires courage. Not loud courage, not reckless confidence, but quiet, rooted faith. Fear doesn't always show up as panic. Sometimes it shows up as hesitation, overthinking, waiting for permission God has already given. This part is about learning how to move forward without shrinking, rushing, or second-guessing what heaven has already confirmed. Fear rushes. Faith trusts timing. When you rush, you step ahead of grace. When you wait, grace meets you where you move. The blueprint was designed with seasons, not shortcuts. You don't have to force doors. You don't have to explain yourself into alignment. You don't have to arrive early to prove worth. What is meant for you will not require anxiety to obtain. If God said it will happen, then timing is part of the promise. Pressure creates urgency. Peace creates clarity. Learn this distinction. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's God. Just because something is urgent doesn't mean it's aligned. God often leads with peace, even when the instruction is uncomfortable. If you feel rushed, anxious, or frantic, pause. If you feel grounded, steady, and clear, even when unsure, that's direction. The blueprint unfolds best when you follow peace. Fear wants validation. Faith requires obedience. Not everyone will understand your choices, your boundaries, your silence, your shift. And they don't need to. Blueprints are not explained to spectators, they're revealed to stewards. You were never called to convince people. You were called to obey God. When you release the need to explain yourself, fear loses its grip. Fear speaks prematurely. Faith speaks precisely. Every vision doesn't need commentary. Every plan doesn't need agreement. Every movement doesn't need announcement. Some things grow best in silence. Speak when God says speak. Be quiet when God says wait. Your words carry weight now. Use them wisely. Fear waits for big signs. Faith obeys small nudges. Sometimes the blueprint unfolds through simple steps. A conversation you feel prompted to have. A habit you're asked to release. A routine God asks you to build. A rest you're told not to skip. Don't overlook small obedience. Large assignments are built on tiny yes. Fear clings to familiarity. Faith embraces transformation. You can't carry yesterday's identity into tomorrow's assignment. The version of you that survived is not the same version that will lead. The version that endured is not the same version that will steward abundance. Honor who you were, but don't live there. The blueprint requires an updated vessel. Fear equates rest with laziness. Faith understands rest as alignment. God did not design you to function depleted. Rest sharpens discernment. Rest restores clarity. Rest rebuilds trust. If God is telling you to slow down, it's not because you're behind. It's because something ahead requires strength. Resistance doesn't mean you're wrong. Often, it means you're right. When you move into alignment, friction appears. But resistance is not a stop sign. It's confirmation that movement is happening. Fear says, "This is too hard." Faith says, "This is shaping me." Fear fixates on results. Faith focuses on relationship. Don't measure success by speed, or applause, or immediate results. Measure success by obedience. As long as you're walking with God, you're on track. Chosen one, you don't need new revelation. You need trust in the revelation you already received. The blueprint is not fragile. It doesn't depend on perfection. It depends on willingness. Walk steadily. Walk humbly. Walk boldly, but gently. Fear will try to revisit. Doubt may knock again. But now you know. You're not guessing anymore. You're following. And the God who designed the blueprint is walking it with you, one step at a time. Chosen one, if this message stirred something deep in you, if it felt familiar before it felt clear, if it felt like remembrance instead of information, that's because your spirit already knew. God is not catching up. He's revealing what's been hidden all along. Your journey was never broken. It was encoded. And now, the blueprint is unfolding. If this message resonated with you, take a moment, quietly, to thank God for how far you've come. Not just for the blessings, but for the process. Because the process shaped the vessel. And the vessel is ready. Stay aligned. Stay grounded. And most of all, stay obedient. This is your time. Chosen one, before you go, I want to speak to the givers, the ones whose hearts feel called to pour back into the vessel that pours into them. If this message awakened you, if it strengthened you, if it spoke to your spirit in a way only heaven could orchestrate, then I invite you, only if your heart feels led, to sow a $1 seed into this channel. Not because God needs it, but because giving is a spiritual law. A small seed carries big obedience. And God multiplies what is given with pure intention. Your $1 keeps this ministry alive, keeps the messages flowing, and helps this word reach the next chosen one who needs it. If you feel that nudge in your spirit, if you feel that gentle pull, you can plant your $1 seed using the link in the description. And if you can't or don't feel led, you are still loved, still seen, and still covered. Blessings to every giver, and blessings to every listener. Your seed moves heaven in ways you may never see. But God sees it all.